지난 방송에도 말씀드렸듯이 네, 꿋꿋하게 저는 헬레나로 가겠습니다.
잠깐만. 방송이 장난이야?
It's hard to tell if the dev team is trolling or if they're actually just cultured like that. Okay, the stream was 2 hours, which was actually much longer than I expected. So here's the rundown. First things first. The swimsuit characters are Therese, Michaela, Morphia, and Eclipse. Therese is surprisingly the only limited. There may be a reason for that, which I'll get into later. There's no skill animations, but they did provide sneak peek shots of what direction these animations will be like. The dev team also said they want to make mouse pads with these designs. I think that would sell well. Next, they talked about the new guild raid feature that many of us have been wondering about. These raids will be a week-long event, and this will be a collaborative effort to build up EXP for the War Machine Lancelot, which will be very important to take out the Mega Boss. The battle system also gets a bit of a shakeup as the grid will be increased to 5x5, and you can pick up to 7 units to deploy. 2 of these units can be from other guild members. On days 1 to 3, this is the build-up phase where you fight many enemies. On day 4 to 7, you will fight the Mega Boss with Lancelot. There will be 2 types of bosses with 6 elemental types, including the neutral type. These will be in rotation. They didn't specify how often this rotation happens though. Bosses will also have an overdrive skill, which is basically when they charge up to do a desperation move. The mechanic behind this is you had to meet the conditions to put the boss into a broken state, while also preventing your team from being wiped out by random attacks. They also stated you can use Lancelot to put the boss in a broken state as well. There is a scoring system, and the guilds with the top scores will have emblems with special effects. So yeah, there's a leaderboard. The first guild raid will start sometime next month. Moving on, they talk about a new feature, which is the top view feature. This was made for guild raids, but they also decided to add it for normal battles. It's pretty reminiscent of Brave 9's normal view, and I think this is going to be a fantastic addition. Next is the new growth system. This is called Awakening. Basically, you will use new materials to enhance your units that are level 100, and you can pump up specific stats. When these stats are maxed out, the unit will enter a awakening state, which will increase stats that lines up with the unit's traits. So basically, think of it like a merit point system. The materials needed for this system will be in the guild shop, and the points you get from guild raids can be spent there. There will also be in the shop in the Evil Castle, and also be provided as new rewards for clearing benchmarks in Last Night. By the way, the dev team went out of the way to say this will not be a pay-to-win system. We'll see about that. Next is improvements to game modes already in the game. Tower of Salvation is getting a retry function. The dev team thought about limiting these retries, but decided against it. There will also be a sweep function added for difficulty levels that have already been cleared. So now we can spend our daily stamina without it taking over an hour. The scoring system has changed from total score to top score, so whales and day 1 veterans no longer have to try hard for the entire season. Finally, players can skip difficulty levels they've already beat in a previous season. I assume all the one-time rewards from previous difficulties will be provided in bulk. And we already knew this, but the lower difficulty levels are also getting nerfed, and several unreasonable enemy teams will be adjusted, like the teams that just throw up taunt and have counter ready. They're also going to be improving the RNG of costume selection, so our starting teams won't be so scuffed, and the shops will be getting new stuff. Most important of all this though, is the tier goddess reward will be moved to a lower difficulty so players can get it more easily. Pretty much the best change out of this entire section. Tower of Desire and Evil Castle will be getting a new set of 50 floors. And Last Night's top score will be getting an increase of 100 million. Next big changes deal with Mirror Wars. For PvP, they've got a lot of feedback that daily PvP is very tiring. So the Dead Team will be implementing a system that allows players to spend up to 10 blood cocktails at once, granting you up to 10 times of the medals per fight. The Dead Team specifically made note though that victory points are not multiplied. So the players who care about climbing in PvP will still have to do battles with 1 blood cocktail at a time to maximize their victory point gain. Overall, a pretty good change that pleases both sides. In September, Nebris' original costume will have her own banner, and the Berserker season event will be reran for 1 week. There will be no practice week for this. There's a bit of self-glazing towards the end here. Brownest 2 player base has increased by 150% since the half anniversary, and player feedback has increased by 200%. A large majority of the player base are playing 2 to 5 gacha games at once, which is actually kind of surprising to me. As a result, about half of the player base only strive to play Brownest 2 for about an hour per day. This was the main driving factor to their changes in Tower of Salvation and Mirror Wars. About 97% of the player base were very happy with the first anniversary, but players have been more mixed about the state of Mirror Wars, and the Dead Team is hoping the incoming changes will help with that. There was a content wish list that people voted on, and the top 3 is having more strategic gameplay, having a tower defense style content, and a business management simulation. And that's a weird one, but hey, people want it, I guess. There's also a costume wish list. I'm not going to list all of them, and I'll just leave it here on screen for you to look at. But based on this data, a lot of players want to see the girls naked or in a bunny costume. Sounds about right. There will be a character popularity poll starting August 14th, and there will be a collab sometime in the second half of the year. By the way, this is why I think there's only 1 limited banner for the summer event. They did want to announce what the collaboration actually is, but they learned from the first collab that an early announcement kills the hype. So they decided to hold on to the details for now. They did announce that there will be 200 free pulls for the swimsuit update. This would be shocking, but they do this all the time. This also more than likely won't be upfront and we'll have to work for it, but at least it's there to farm. After this, one of the devs say he really needs to go pee. The Dead Team talks about their newfound marketing strategy coming to life, and there has been billboards and posters up in Korea, Taiwan, and Japan. This is great news because I personally felt the main thing holding Brownest 2 back has been their lack of marketing. It's pretty funny though that the billboards are censored despite being so open and free about being the horny gacha game. After this, there is a live Q&A session. I'm not going to list out every single Q&A, but I made note of the ones I felt were interesting. If you want to listen to all of them, you can go watch the video yourself. I left the link in the description. Number 1, the devs are preparing and discussing the idea of making a player character for some side content. This is actually a heavily desired feature, so it will happen at some point. This will also likely have a bond or a merit system, which is also in discussion. Number 2, there are no plans for real-time PvP. This is a bit unfortunate to me personally. If Fire Emblem Heroes can do it, Brownest 2 can, and it would probably be better. Number 3, we already knew this, but there will be no new story pack for the rest of the year. Number 4, there will be no gender bending, so there will be no male characters turned into females. Looks like you're going to have to stick with FGO. Number 5, the Dead Team has answered they will add more male characters once they add all the female characters. So basically never. Number 6, the Dead Team is considering to put side stories in the story packs, but currently they don't have the time to do this. And lastly, number 7, there was a really based question from the chat, and they asked, where the fuck is the new Sylvia costume? The Dead Team answered the new Sylvia costume is a spoiler, so it sounds like it is coming. That's all for the livestream recap. I'm going back to bed.
Stand up. to you.